Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome, guys. What another great week to talk about markets. We have once again achieved quite a high level of volatility. Maybe not as much in crypto over the last 2 or 3 days, but certainly in equity markets. I'm sure that those are things that we will discuss later on today's show. But I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by Max and Dr. Will's Outlook. Welcome. I think it was on an afternoon call earlier this week. I think Tucker was speaking, and I pointed out how time really flies by when you're in a range. You wouldn't expect it to, right? But when Bitcoin and crypto as a broader market have been ranging for as long as it has, at least during the weeks, I feel like the time just flies by, right? We are already here on a Thursday morning. So welcome, guys. I hope you have all had a phenomenal start to your week. Before we can start cooking and sharing our thoughts on the charts, though, I'm going to ask if you guys can smash, slam, hammer, whatever adjective you need to work yourself up to hit that like button. We would be very appreciative, obviously, as always. And it's like my colleagues love to say, right? We'd love to live in a world where our content could just be assessed on its quality. And I think it's pretty damn good. And clearly a lot of you guys do as well, considering how long a lot of you have been tuning in. But unfortunately, we do need you guys to hit that like button. So if you could do us a favor, we would be very, very appreciative. We will do our best to cook you guys up some delicious and humble alpha, hopefully, today. But yeah, guys, let's get into the charts. Now that is out of the way, it's like I said at the start of the show, I really feel like time, when these weeks, they fly by, not over a multi-month basis, right? Like it clearly feels like we've been here forever. But when you're like Monday through Friday, just spending time at kind of the same prices, it can go by, I think, relatively quickly. And that's definitely what it feels like, what we're seeing with crypto right now. Equities, however, have been a totally different beast. There's been no shortage of volatility in those markets, not just last week with the Japanese driven flash crash, whatever you want to attribute it to, but also this week, right? I mean, I think that's 3 or 4 straight days with 1% gain to the upside. So the boomer markets are ripping. Crypto is flat today, but we'll have to imagine those correlations will realign at some point, right? But we'll see. It's like I said, Bitcoin and ETH Bitcoin's kind of green on the day, but when I look at the market structure, they are both kind of flat. I think some of the opportunity is more than likely going to be presented in altcoins, right? At least on an intraday basis. But I think the entire crypto market is just kind of waiting for what Bitcoin and ETH are going to do at this pivot, right? Are we forming a shoulder here at previous range lows, or are we about to recover, re-accept back into value? And obviously that would mean probably what we're already seeing in equity markets, which is where we recover and rip higher. So we will see what that entails. I know we're going to talk about ETH Bitcoin a little bit today as well. We've been talking about Sol ETH throughout the week, but I think that ETH Bitcoin is actually in a pretty interesting spot as well. I know some of my teammates, you're going to have to, I'm not going to FUD ETH Bitcoin today. I'm not going to FUD ETH Bitcoin. ETH USD could be another story, but ETH Bitcoin, I actually think looks pretty good. So I want to talk about that later today. But that's my little spiel to open the show, guys. I'd love to know what y'all are seeing in the markets today. Like I said, equity markets ripping. Crypto is relatively flat on the day, but how are we doing and what are we seeing in the markets?
Tommy, please don't hurt me again. Please don't hurt me again. You can't FUD ETH. I don't know if I believe you.
I'm not FUDing ETH Bitcoin. I didn't say I'm not FUDing ETH.
I knew it. I knew it was too good to be true.
There's a satirical difference. Okay.
That was like a backhanded compliment. That was like hey, your eyes are really beautiful. They pull away the attention from how horrible your hair looks. It was like, I'm not going to FUD ETH. Boom. Yes, I will. Backhanded. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I mean, equities are ripping. The boomers just continue to make money hand over fist. We thought we would have our own market called crypto. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know why we thought we could have our own little casino. We should have just walked into their giant mega casino and printed in derivatives just like they are, And I don't know. I'm just kind of having fun with this little fractal. Here's the NASDAQ. Got the VIX down below, and I've basically got the COVID fractal over the over the most recent pullback. So I don't know, just kind of having some fun with it, right? But Tommy is 100% correct in noting that we are bouncing pretty hard here. NASDAQ is ripping. I mean, trading view line make bounce, right? I mean, look at this thing. Trading view line make bounce. Look, like what? Look at this thing. You can't make this up. Trading view line make bounce. It's a diagonal trend line, and it called the bottom, right? But it's a nice area of confluence as well, where you have like the previous all-time high. It's been flipped. So kind of an obvious area to really rebound into. But I mean, we are straight up V recovering from here. I mean, this is no joke of a recovery so far. I don't see why it would stop at this point. They're bidding, right? They're bidding. The question is, like, will it translate over into crypto? Well, I certainly hope so. I think we've had enough pain of our decoupling for long enough, right? But I am of the opinion that we should see it translate over, and I think it'll probably be a situation where when this level on the NASDAQ finally gets flipped, and you see a maneuver like this, right? It'll probably like pull up to here. We'll probably see a pullback, and then it'll move up. I think if you saw something like this, that's when you'd probably see crypto follow, right? If they are correlated at all, is once we're about to see the NASDAQ rip back up into price discovery, then I feel like people will just continue to move further down the risk curve, and then eventually we'll see some liquidity come into crypto. But I don't know. I tweeted this out this morning, like just looking at this, right? We were definitely ahead of schedule, right? So we have our current cycle, we've got last cycle, and then the 2016 and 2017 cycle. And I think it's really interesting to note, for one, that both of the previous two cycles, 2020 and 2021, and then 2016 and 2017, from Pico Schmico capitulatory bear market bottom all the way through global cycle top, took about 1,060 to 1,070 days, depending on how you want to measure it exactly, but basically that time, just over 1,060 days. Additionally, you can kind of see these cycles oscillating around each other, right? I've overlaid the fractals perfectly over the current price action, and we were ahead of schedule, as you can see. When we had the Bitcoin ETF get approved right here, I'll make this red. When we had the Bitcoin ETF get approved right in here, you could see that we had a nice big like Bitcoin ETF pump right here, and that did send us up a little quicker than expected. We made an all-time high before the halving. But we've now spent 5 months, basically kind of coming back to reality, oscillating back down into our giant trend, which is perfectly in line with the previous two cycles. So perhaps this is sort of a time-based mean reversion that we're seeing, which is why it's taken so long. My hope, in my opinion, initially was that, we would just continue to have an expedited sort of left translated cycle. But it appears now that we are perfectly in sync with the previous two cycles. And additionally, all of the Bitcoin halvings have happened right within this line right here, right within this red box. For all three cycles, the Bitcoin halving has happened right here, which is really, really interesting. And then basically sometime it will take a measured move, like roughly from this box, 3, 4, 5 months after is when Bitcoin starts to go crazy. So ignoring all of the noise, ignoring all of the FUD, ignoring everything except for Bitcoin cycles, perhaps we add into the mix, elections and, things like that. We're kind of doing what we've always done, and this would suggest that most of the chop and the pain is in fact behind us. And I mean, look at the previous two cycles right here. You can very clearly see that from this period of time, I'll just mark from like the Bitcoin high this time around, through the halvings. This is kind of your bullshit region right here. This is your stale, bullshit, boring region, which is like right around the Bitcoin halving to like a couple hundred days after potentially. And then things start to heat up, right? So if we are going to do what we've done in the previous 2 cycles, that would suggest that perhaps sometime in September is when for one, we should in theory be bottomed here, right? Like we've joined our cluster, we should be bottomed. If we are going to rally in, Q4, we should start grinding up now, joining the previous 2 cycles. And by, end of September, October, we should be into price discovery, and potentially even end of this year. It wouldn't surprise me to see Bitcoin like up in this region, right? Around where the previous 2 cycles were. So I'm just saying, like, there is something to these cycles. It's not a coincidence. And again, if you kind of smooth out the data, right? If you smooth out the data a little bit and you just look at it as like okay, we've had some big drops and big pumps. If this is all like one cycle, your average of all of these cycles would probably look something like this. Okay. Like kind of drowning out all the noise. This is more or less like what your cycle would look like, right? And by that, I mean, taking an average, removing, the outliers to the upside and the downside, right? Just kind of like smoothing it out. You would basically have like, this is your cycle mean or whatever, So I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? We'll definitely see what happens. Kind of an abstract way to look at things, but I find it very, very interesting that we are joining up with the previous 2 cycles and what potentially.
It's a cool chart. But I was told by
That was a
somebody
cool chart, but I have a cooler chart.
with an N in their name that the cycle was over and we're triple topped. That's what I was told on a Spaces one day.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I mean, look, anything's possible, right? Like you have to consider everything, but I don't know. I've said this repeatedly. I feel as though the people that are trying to right curve this cycle, you simply have too much data to look at right now. This has been a very, very difficult time in the market. There are so many data points that are coming into effect. There's always, I said this during my stream yesterday. I did a solo stream for like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. Okay. There is always a million reasons to be bearish. There's always way more reasons to be bearish than there are bullish. There's always some politician causing drama. There's always some couple, 2 or 3 nations that are almost at war with each other. There's always some macroeconomic data point to hyperfixate on, right? You'll have analysis paralysis, right? But if you can kind of drown out a lot of the data points that are important, but shouldn't be the only thing you look at, and just really kind of look at things holistically from like a liquidity perspective and a cycle perspective, I think you're probably going to be better served trying to left curve it a little bit instead of being like, oh, we're due for a recession because of these 7 macroeconomic data points. I think it's important to acknowledge it, but I think if you just look at it and go, Bitcoin rally after Bitcoin halving and after election, brain off, you're going to make more money. The problem with those people is that they'll do that and they'll make a lot more money unrealized and they'll never sell and make profits, right? They'll never actually bank it. But if you can somehow like thread the needle between turning your brain off and trying to left curve the cycle, but then waking up sometime in like late Q1 and turning your brain back on, I feel like that'll be the secret recipe. That'll be the secret ingredient right there.
Tommy, I have to ask you a question. What do you think about, and how do you subscribe to somebody if they tell you that just because something has happened 10 times in a row, never not happened 10 times in a row, that it doesn't have to happen again?
I'm a big proponent of cyclicality, not guaranteed cyclicality, but just the way markets and really kind of many different abstracts in life do tend to move very cyclically. So I think saying something can occur because it's already happened or because there is a limited data set on it, saying it can occur again, I don't really adhere to that, right? Like, and I feel like crypto is kind of the perfect it's really kind of at the crux of that belief, right? Like you have to believe whatever you attribute the cyclicality in crypto to, right? Like liquidity cycles, it could be the halving, it could just be our psychology gets fried every 4 years and we need a bit of a reset, and that's why it works. But no, I'm a big proponent of cyclicality. So sometimes you can't even see why, you can't always see why it's going to occur, but cyclicality itself is literally a part of life, not just financial markets.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing: presidencies are what? Every 4 years, right? Taxes are what? Every single year. Your birthday every single year. Moon phases every single year. Like we can go through tons and tons and tons of different data points, right? Not assumptions, and look at them and be like, oh yeah, these occur regularly. These occur in cycles, so on and so forth. And I think that with that being said,
a rock respecter? I had to ask. I heard you say
rock.
Are you a rock? Are you a moon respecter?
Will.
You mentioned it. I had to ask.
Will, bro,
I believe the moon affects the tide. I believe it affects the
do you think it affects women's ovulation cycles? Do you think that women can ovulate and sync up with the moon?
There's a possibility in that.
You think it's a possibility?
I don't have enough data.
Do you think it can affect people's moods because hormonal changes?
Here's the thing, Max. I'm not a biologist, so I don't know much about the human body.
Will, you know this shit, bro. It's all connected. It's all don't tell me it's not connected. Will, you respect the rock, you just don't know it.
I've flown, around different portions of the world. I've never ran into the icebergs at the edges. But
it's not an iceberg, it's an ice wall, Will.
Ice walls.
Yeah, it's a wall. You haven't touched the dome, Will?
I haven't ran into the dome yet.
Well, you need to figure it out, man. You didn't walk far enough, clearly.
The screen that they have that turns the lights on and off every day, I haven't hit that yet. You
ever seen the Truman Show, the movie?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. Will, I promise if you were Truman, I would tell you.
Yeah, the look, there's Hagrid in the comment. Respect the wall. Oh shoot. No, but what you call it? Yeah, I think, and this is an old saying. It's not a person saying. It's not my saying. It's not any individual saying. But I think it's something that people should always keep in mind. History never repeats, but it rhymes. What that means is, like, you won't always get the same play out, but you'll essentially have a similar scenario play, right? Like you might, like right now, for instance, right? We never sat at the high here for 6 months and just done nothing. But now this is a new era, new genre. But expectations should be that you're going to break out, because every cycle that's what happens, regardless of how long we sit up here. That's the part that people miss. People miss that you don't have to play out for 2 months. You can play out for 6 months. You can play out for 8 months. You can play out for 7 months. But your expectations should be higher. They should be higher. That's the point that people should be looking at here and be like, okay, regardless of how long we've been here, expectations are you get to all-time high, you hesitate, and you break out. That should be your expectations. And you should be looking to DCA and take this as an opportunity to make money. Is there a scenario where there's diminishing returns? 100% there is. But I don't think there's a scenario where you're ever going to be double top or triple top. Because show me on NVIDIA the double top. Show me on NVIDIA the triple top. Show me on SPY the double top. Show me on SPY the triple top. Show me on Lockheed and Martin the double top, the triple top. They're just up only stocks. That's all they are. They only go up. Why? Because of inflation and money printing. It's the same reason Bitcoin will always go up. It doesn't matter about diminishing returns. You will always have new all-time highs as long as there's interest in the asset. It is what it is. The only stock I've ever seen trade sideways, the only one outside of penny stocks, obviously, is probably Twitter before it became X. And that stock was horrendous. Like, I would never trade it because I never thought they were going anywhere, because they tried to control the narrative on everything that happened on their platform, and it really messed with investors. And so is what it is. Right? I don't make the rules, I just follow them. But every other stock is an up only stock, guys. Like, flat out. Unless it's a small cap. Small caps are going to be highly volatile until they're not, until they become mid to bigs. But mid to bigs, up only. Bitcoin is a big cap. It is $1 trillion asset, period. You should expect up only. But yeah, that's I don't know. I think, like, in this area right here, it's a little tricky. I think there'll be a little more pullback, but I think that ultimately people should be taking this as an opportunity, not be taking it as a to sell here doesn't logically make any sense. To tell people to sell here, you have to have like a brain hemorrhage. You should go get a scan, right? An MRI or something. See if you're bleeding on your brain or something like that, to tell people to sell at the low. It just doesn't make any sense. If you were to sell, I'd say you should have sold at 70 something K, and then you ride this thing down and you buy back in. But guess what? Most people didn't do that. And now this isn't the place to be looking to use that as an opportunity to do so. This is an opportunity to dial in if you've been sitting and waiting. And if you're sitting in cash, enjoy being poor, right? Study poverty.
What? You say study poverty? Oh, Will. One of a kind, Will. I added a couple things onto this chart that I think are interesting. So looking at all these fractals of the previous cycles overlaid with the current one, I marked out all the Bitcoin halvings on each one of the sets of price actions. So the current one, end of April, this last April, right here on the 2016-2017 fractal, it's this orange dot. Hopefully you guys can see it. I can make it a little like thicker, I guess. You should be able to see it. And you'll notice that all the halvings within these fractals happen like literally at the same time, which is really interesting. And then I also marked out US presidential elections in red. So you can see, like what price has been doing right at the election. So here's what it does at the halving, which is like sideways, and then into the election is a ripperoni. So right now the next election is like right over here. It's like, when is it? It's like November what? It's like first week in November, something. I don't know. It's like right here, basically. This is when the next election is, more or less. I don't know the exact date, but it's like November 8th. I don't know. But this is the upcoming election right here. So it's just interesting to see. I just wanted to throw this on there.
Yeah, and Dinesh, I somewhat agree. I think like saying that this cycle will be the same as 2021, or saying this cycle will be the same as 2017, or saying this cycle will be the same as blah, 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 blah. Like, none of that shit matters. Like, just know that the cycle is getting ready to ramp up. Know that we're going to go up exponentially. And
how can you
try to identify
that, though,
top.
bro? Like, how can you possibly say that, though?
Which one? Which part?
Dinesh saying anyone comparing this cycle timing-wise to past is not going to be able to execute good. That's literally what I've been showing this whole time we've been on stream, is actually how useful that exact strategy is and potentially will be again.
Presidential elections are really a really solid scenario to look at. And it's not just here. Like, you can use presidential elections on stocks too. It plays for both. It doesn't just play for Bitcoin. This isn't a one-off that we're cherry picking for Bitcoin. It's assets in general. Typically, assets in general do pretty well after a presidential election.
I mean, presidential elections are cyclical events, but they often drive incentives, right? I mean, we've already seen that throughout the course of this year. Well, more so last year than I guess this year, and I guess Q1 of this year. But politics, and especially populist politics, are going to drive liquidity because politicians are incentivized to spend money. They typically have the momentum to be able to do so, and it's also politically favorable. So if you are an incumbent, an incumbent, for example, it makes a ton of sense to drive liquidity into markets, because if people feel wealthier, if people see more value in their 401ks, they're going to be more likely to go vote for you. And that's true not just beforehand, before presidential elections, as we kind of saw more so, like I said, Q1 of this year and a little bit before that. But also after somebody gets elected, right? They're going to have that momentum. They're going to be able to push through probably more fiscal spending, which usually does. I mean, liquidity is entirely incentives based. So what will happen is liquidity will, in America's case, it will generally find its way into financial markets, which will be positive catalyst.
Well, one other thing too, I think that not enough people think about is, when does most of the policy actually happen when a president comes in? It happens within the first year. So most policy is enacted within the first year, and that's why you see markets absolutely explode based on policy that the president, whoever that may be, comes into office and starts implementing. And policy will typically sway the market in which direction the market wants to bid. Yes, that's a possibility, but risk will always be risk. It doesn't matter. The market could bid commodities, or it could bid tech, or it could bid whatever, and risk will still be on the table for all of those scenarios. It's just, when will risk end, right? And I think, like, when you look at something like Bitcoin, I think it's going to bid regardless of which end of the spectrum they want to bid, whether it be commodities or tech. We've seen it work in both scenarios. And, in that scenario, I think that with all that being said, this is why the first year of the presidency tends to be the most profitable. And then after all policy is enacted, then you see a swift takeaway. That's usually where your bear market comes. 1 year after the presidency, you'll see the next bear market. And why do markets rally? I think a couple of reasons. I think because policy is being enacted and people are bullish on the policy that's being created. And two, I would say too, because the president typically, do you want all eyes on you while you're changing things? No, you want everybody to be making money. You want them to be happy while you're changing all their structure. And then once it's all changed, then you don't give a shit anymore. Then that's the next year. That's when they take it all away, and you'll start to see that repercussion. I would say if you're looking at 2007, somebody said study 2007. That's next year. It's next year. Here's the thing. I don't even think we're in the era of a 2007, 2008. I think people are almost a full cycle ahead of time on that. Like, I do think that there's a downfall, a bear market coming after next year, but 2007, 2008s tend to happen once every decade. We had one already. I don't know what to tell people. Like, 2022 was that year, man. Like, your inflation already happened. What do you expect inflation to go back to, like 7%, 8%?
I think the fears of inflation coming back are kind of overblown right now. I feel like that is not a very sound argument from the data that I've seen. I don't know if it's just people paranoid studying like the 1970s or something, but I don't really see that. And I want to address something here from Dinesh. Every cycle is based on current liquidity cycle. Imagine comparing 2021 Bitcoin cycle to 2017. Every cycle is different in its own. Yes, but as you can see, global liquidity conditions are improving. You have global M2 now in price discovery right after the Bitcoin halving, almost into the US presidential election, which has happened the previous 2 times. Just saying, everything is slightly different, but it always kind of rhymes in a spooky way, right?
M2 is big too, Max. I think not enough people.
People are only looking. Well, people are only looking at US M2. Bitcoin is a global asset.
It's a global asset.
You need to look at not just US M2. You need to look at China. You need to look at Japan. You need to look at like every large central bank in the world. All the M2s mushed together.
Yeah, and I think not enough people do that. It's like that. Here's the thing. I've never seen a generation, and I'm saying a generation since I've been born. I'm a millennial, by the way. I've never seen a generation more doomer than this one. I've never seen one.
Everybody's got like a recession fetish or something. I don't understand what it is.
I think because nobody our age can afford anything. It's probably like
what they want the recession. They want it.
So Tommy, do you think it stems more from them wanting to actually like be able to buy a house and like buy cheap shares of something and like get ahead? Or is it just they're angry at the world and they just want it to burn?
Angry.
I think it's kind of more of the latter. Like, it's just a general cynicism that they'll be able to have any opportunity unless something like a great recession were to occur again. Because, I mean, they look like their real wages haven't gone up. And I mean, that's not exclusive to this generation. Real wages haven't gone up in decades, but they can't really afford anything. They don't really feel like they have much employment opportunity or upward mobility. It's I can't say I totally fault them for having their views, but that also doesn't mean the economy is about to enter a recession yet. They're probably just a few years too early, quite frankly. Because what's going to happen is when that recession actually does happen, most people aren't going to have any money to be able to buy it. That's typically what you do see on those downturns for whatever reason. And those people will probably get forced into the market because they feel like they have to in order to catch up or just to be able to keep up because I do think inflation will flare back up at some point in the next few years, but it's not really something that I think is going to happen before a new president gets elected. They're definitely not going to have CPI prints going up and doing into an election. Absolutely not. Bidenomics, as I like to say, is literally just gaming the data, lying about the economic data that's coming in. You're not even going to get any truthful inflation prints until he's out of office.
Bro, I've never and I am the most centrist person when it comes to presidents and White House. Like I'm anti-government, doesn't matter who's in. But the point being, I've never seen data manipulated more than this presidency. I've never seen it in my lifetime. And granted, that's just my lifetime. And maybe people are older than me could probably, cue to that conversation. But it's insanity, man. Like they changed up the rules. They changed up everything they could to change the data in favor of what they wanted to create this scenario of a soft landing. Now here's the thing. They backdoor QE. They made the soft landing happen, but they did it through manipulation. This wasn't a free market. It was a market that was floated and manipulated in every way they could. Will there be repercussions? Yes, but those repercussions take years to come into play. They don't happen in 6 months, 8 months down the road like everybody thinks it will happen. So it could be another full cycle before those repercussions really take effect on the economy. And I understand the feeling of where the economy is and how expensive houses are, how expensive cars are, right? Cars, like your average car is like 60 to 80,000. That's a full year's salary for somebody. So it's understandable why people feel the way they feel, but it doesn't change that the market is not in the condition to, systemically come down just because you feel that way about the economy. Like all roads right now lead to a further up market, to a more profitable market. Regardless of what people think, the market is going to move up with or without you. So we come on the show daily to try and give the data points so people aren't getting absolutely screwed, because you're just screwing yourself more, essentially. If you're just sitting in cash and the market moves against you and it moves up, you're just screwing yourself more. You're making it worse on yourself because you're not making anything. And inflation's actually beating you because the market went up substantially and you're sitting on cash that's devaluing. I mean, look at DXY. DXY is getting absolutely crushed. I expect probably within the next year, DXY, your dollar, will probably be worth 90 to 80 cents on the dollar.
You're an international traveler. Now is a good time.
Yeah.
I've been taking advantage of that the last few years. It will probably never have as favorable of a period of our dollar against foreign currencies to be able to travel as really over the last like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I have a buddy, he just moved to Thailand. He's like, I'm over it. He's like, I'm moving to Thailand.
So here's my thing about, like, yeah, it's really cheap to live in places like Thailand, and Puerto Rico is another big one, but then you have to live in Thailand or Puerto Rico.
That is true.
That's a big opportunity cost, man. I'll be honest. I wouldn't want to live there.
Dude, I've been to some other countries, man. It's some are beautiful to vacation to, but home sweet home, home sweet home.
I'm a consumer at heart. I kind of have to live in America.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest difference you notice when you travel abroad is that there's no country that's more heavily catered to the consumer than America. And there is definitely it has a lot of flaws, right? I'll be the first to agree with you on that. But there is no better place for a consumer like myself than America.
That's a crazy chart you got there, Max. I like it though. I like it.
Just 1 second, guys. Hang on.
All right. Anyways, we'll move forward since Max is now gone. But yeah, no, like I feel like I had to say that earlier, man, because I feel like the people sit there and they think that we don't care. It's like we do. We understand what conditions the market's in. We understand that people's incomes prior and is favorable.
So someone said in the comments here, who was it? Let me put it up here. Here, Max put global liquidity index as an indicator on TradingView. That's the real liquidity. There were a handful of them. I just seemed like this one was a decent one where you could add in everything. Fed Reserve System, Treasury General Account, RRP, ECB, PBC. It's basically got all of them. Then you can add in like M2 as well, which I feel like is actually really cool to be able to look at all of that. So yeah, I mean, this paints a pretty interesting picture right here. I can make it a different color, but that's a pretty interesting little picture there, I will say. Hopefully that's what you were suggesting. I feel like it's about as good as it gets, but I mean, a little work to do, but kind of looks like we're doing what we've always done, more or less.
You've got liquidity coming in September and October and November and December and probably Q1 of next year too. So,
I mean, go ahead, Tommy.
No, that was basically all I had to say. Like, liquidity's on the way.
The thing that I'm seeing here is that the parabolic move hasn't even happened. We're still in the consolidation range, right? The accumulation up, right, range, and then the parabolic move of liquidity injection comes later.
Here's the Bitcoin halvings over this chart as well. So like true global liquidity with Bitcoin above and the Bitcoin halvings.
I like it.
That's interesting.
Looks
That's
like
really
16.
interesting. It's really interesting. Does this make you bearish, Anon?
Look at 16, Max, where it came down just like we did over here on the right, and then it just absolutely ripped off of that. Like, it doesn't even have to be an exponential liquidity injection. Like, look at 16 to 17. That's not even a hard ramp. 2021 was a hard ramp.
I mean, bro, in 2017, man, we had a more parabolic bull market and we had less liquidity added to the system. A lot of it is conditions based, right? It's not just yes, liquidity is extremely important, right? But there's also a lot of other things that come into effect. It's not just like how much money went into the system equals how much Bitcoin goes up. That's a big part of it. But I mean, Bitcoin over here in 2016, 2017, it went up like 13, 14, 15x from the previous all-time high. Bitcoin last cycle, it went up like 2.5x. But they doubled the M2 money supply in the US in like 18 months. I kind of have like a weird feeling that the like last cycle wasn't even like a real cycle. It was literally like that was like an echo bubble. That was like literally only because of money printing. Yep. You know, like if they hadn't printed money, like Bitcoin would have just like moved sideways the whole time. I don't know. It's kind of weird to think about, but I'm like almost thinking.
I kind of think the cycle for Bitcoin was probably about on par with where it should have been. I will say where I think liquidity came in to alter the cycle was the second top for one on Bitcoin. I don't think that was a real, like really a real top. And if you were to remove the second high on Bitcoin completely, the one from Q4 of 2021, it looks a lot more like the 2018 or the 2017 to 2018 cycle, right? Where you had you kind of had the euthanasia roller coaster back down to 3K. It kind of looks the same way when I look at the current or the 2021 cycle, right? Like if you just remove that second top, it looks like a euthanasia roller coaster down to 17K. And then I also think with altcoins, you saw it too. Bitcoin dominance, I don't think should have reached as low as it should have. But because we made liquidity so accessible, it opened the door for bad actors like 3AC, FTX, Grayscale,
F2 pool,
be able to pump shit out of altcoins. So yeah, that's where I really think the liquidity created a whole extra bit to the cycle, not really for Bitcoin, but more so for altcoins and how long the cycle was.
I think people forget and they don't want to talk about F2 pool, man. F2 pool in 2021 dumped on everybody's heads, but they waited till the market ripped before they did it. And I think once you start to see miners really ramp their dumping, then you can be like, all right, this might be near the top, because they're just absolutely unloading clips on the market. Miners are not doing that yet. They're absolutely not even close to doing that yet. And I think there's just so many different factors you can look at right now and say we're not topped. That I think it's obvious, man. Like we come on here daily to literally just tell the people, hey, hold it. Like grab them and hold them, right? Because we're going up. We want to see people succeed. Like we're not a pump and dump scheme. We're here to make people money. I mean, we even got a fund. So the whole point is to make sure people are making money. That's what we come on here daily and discuss. We discuss markets in a way that, is telling people like literally what our thoughts are. We're not sitting here trying to like pump and dump or trying to tell you guys some bullshit. Like our portfolios speak for themselves pretty much. But I really like this chart, but at the same time, I think in the short term, everyone wants to call me Will the Bear. I think we're going to flip down a little bit.
Will the Bear.
If you wanna share the chart there, Max, we can talk about that.
You want your screen up?
Yeah.
That looks not bad, Will. You got to say, like, you got your little pullback. That doesn't look too bad.
The retail resistance held. So, no, what I'm looking for here is now that we're back below.
Did you say we're back, Will?
I'm looking for that. I'm looking for the sweep. It's not a big sweep. Like I wouldn't sell to buy lower. I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, where are we at? What are we doing? We're not where we should be. I'll tell you that. We're not like if you want this thing to pump from here, you need to see God candle. They need to shove. The market maker needs to shove here if you want to see up from here. So what I would tell people in the audience, you'll probably get more opportunity in meme coins if you're sideline, right? Because I think those things are going to get shreked if this thing drops again.
Yeah, I was looking at some meme coins like Mog and Pepe. Mog especially, I think, is looking a little bit weak here coming into I was hoping it would reclaim that swing low that it set on July 5th. We did get a nice reclaim. Obviously, Mog had one of the bigger buybacks of the entire market. It literally rallied over 100% off of its local low.
Yeah, it was a big move.
But as I've been saying, I am now a log truther, and using that, Mog is coming into a diagonal that I have drawn. And I do think that if you can't reclaim that, it's an underside retest of that diagonal. And diagonals are, shout out Tucker, I think diagonals are more effective than horizontals are. So for Mog, I want to see it reclaim that. I think that'd be a positive sign for the meme coin market as a whole.
Real quick, guys. I'm going to step away for 2 minutes. Okay.
Well, no.
I'm going to step away for 2 minutes. When I come back, I need to see the like button looking a little better than it is right now. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like button, hit that heart button on Twitter, hit that retweet button on Twitter, guys. Help us grow. Greatly appreciate the support, but we need you to actually support if you want to support us. So hit that thumbs up button, guys. I'll be back in 2 minutes. We're at 141 likes right now. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Otherwise, it's soybean time, or maybe lean hog futures, or maybe cotton candy futures. I don't know.
So, anyways, moving back into MOG. So you were talking about what with the MOG?
There's a diagonal I have drawn on it from the. I mean, obviously, where I draw a diagonal from is purely conjecture at the end of the day. But I drew the first
like this.
The first pivot from May 13th, and then I align it with June 18th. So yeah, it's basically that. I don't want to see that really for MOG, or else I think it can come down a good bit more. Probably get that full range rotation at least, if that's going to be, structurally what's about to play out.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that. I'd say like this is like not getting below support for sure. And then this right here, if you're gonna swing like you're talking about, you're gonna swing here. But I'd say arguably too, they are kind of holding the upper range here. As long as they can stay above that, they're good. And they hit it once, broke below, got back above it, holding it again. So if they can swing here, ideally. But if Bitcoin's going to drop, I don't think they're going to swing, but we'll see. If they could swing here, then that would be the next leg up. This thing's just, I can't even fib this, man. Like, let's run it from here to here. See what we got. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, technically, we should still have some more upswing. Technically. By the way this looks, so I would say you want to hit that 1618. But let's see, GME's looking good. Just needs to flip. What do you think about this one, Tommy?
Is that Filecoin?
Yeah. Just look. We don't have to talk about the name. We gotta look at the low here. Right.
No, I mean, you know how I feel about data storage and AI, Will. I'm bullish on the utility. I don't know if I'm bullish on the token, but it's a chart that's definitely trying to bottom. What is the FDV of Filecoin? I want to say it hit like 250 billion at one point. Last cycle.
We have to look that up real quick.
It got like stupid. It's okay. So it's at it's at 7 billion FDV still. That's honestly kind of insane. But I know at one point last cycle, Filecoin reached like 200 billion FDV, which is insane when you really put that number in comparison. I can't recall many other assets that went that high, even on FDV. But
yeah, it's pretty high. 7 billion on FDV, circulating supply is 500 million.
If you understand, Kobe had seed allocation to Filecoin as well. That man is just rolling in dough.
Yeah, it's like 4x that they want to dump in. That I don't know what their unlock looks like or their system. I'd have to look into their system as far as like, because I know they do like rewards, and a good chunk of that could be rewards for all we know. Just for payments and so on and so forth. Because they pay people to basically hold the storage, and then you pay them and File to be able to have the storage. So they do have a use case for the token too. So it does kind of work out in that factor. That's why I always like them, because they have a use case for the token, and they have a system set up for both sides, paying the people that are providing the storage, and then receiving payment of their token to be able to have the storage, unlike Chainlink, which has no use case for Link itself.
had to throw that one in there. Tucker wouldn't let you be fudding Link if he was here, but I'll let you FUD it because I think it's funny.
What do you think about BTCD here?
Let me take a look at BTCD. I actually had some thoughts on it about a week ago. I'm not sure if it's been playing out, but hold up. Let me. I actually think BTCD can come down here locally, and I'm not sure why I feel that way necessarily. And it kind of co-aligns with my bias on ETH Bitcoin. I think that ETH Bitcoin's probably about to pump, but I don't know that that's a guarantee to pump ETH USD. And I would say vice versa. Max, if you remember me texting you this a few weeks ago, I said during or right before the whole like Japanese flash crash, I thought that Bitcoin dominance was going to go down while prices went down. And we never saw that. I think that possibility is still in the market, but I'm not totally certain on what the directionality for USD prices looks like.
If they can get above this low, man, that would be interesting. Like, this is the area where I'm kind of watching because you have all this activity here, and it's like basically where you're sitting at right now. So we'll see. I think that this is the hard resist. Could be wrong on that for sure if it breaks above it, but I think if you stay below this is your top. But if you break above this, ideally, I would say we're probably going to start working back up to here if you break above that. So if that ends up happening, I would say ETH BTC is not bottom. If I was what I would say if Bitcoin starts doing that. So I would say like you have to stop here with BTCD. Even if Bitcoin goes higher, ETH has to keep up at a similar rate.
My hot take for Bitcoin dominance is that you don't see it go below like 48 or 50% for probably at least another year or two.
That would
because
be
Max Payne is super cycle. Max Payne is super cycle, and I still think we saw Bitcoin dominance drop as much as it did in the last cycle because of all that extra liquidity. It just kind of encouraged bad actors to do deceitful things with altcoins, which made a ton of people a lot of money, right? I just think it's part of a natural cyclical reset. And now, look, who is the marginal bidder for Bitcoin? Who is the marginal bidder for altcoins? Literal countries are going to be buying Bitcoin. That's the next step.
So we need to discuss this because I don't think it's possible to be bullish ETH BTC and bullish Bitcoin dominance. I don't think it's possible. Not at this point. I suppose there is a scenario where temporarily we could. But I think that statement of being bullish, not you, Tommy, necessarily, but like I think anybody that is bullish ETH BTC is, I mean, what you're saying is that you're bearish Bitcoin dominance, right? And here are the two charts, overlaid by each other. So here's Bitcoin dominance up top. Here's ETH BTC down below, right? I mean, they're kind of a mirror of each other, right? Like it's not perfect, right? So for example, like we'll mark out some tops from last cycle. Okay.
That's kind of what I was insinuating, Max, is like it kind of has to top here if you think ETH BTC is bottomed.
So like there's little divergences, right? Like, little differences and stuff like that. But like you generally can't be like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So it's like if you think that ETH BTC is going to go on to like break this trend line, this is not perfectly drawn, but you know what I mean? What you're going to see is this trend line get broken down on Bitcoin dominance. It's really that simple, and then additionally, like look at when ETH BTC went crazy last cycle. This was the mark, like the high time frame pivot that led to, ETH BTC going crazy last cycle. I'll zoom in on this. Let's go down a little bit. So here's ETH BTC last cycle. And look at when it went crazy. The exact, like literally like the day that Bitcoin dominance topped was like the bottom high time frame pivot where the remainder of the cycle was altcoins and ETH, right? Like you can see this very clearly right here. ETH BTC goes up quite a bit, Bitcoin dominance, Goblin Town, you know? So it's like when I look at this right here, I go, okay, if we're going to be bullish ETH BTC, you literally have to be bearish Bitcoin dominance, you know?
Max.
So real quick.
Chat. Private chat.
What?
Private chat.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Guys, you don't want to know what Will just said to me.
Bunch of people eating Snickers this morning.
You're gonna make me do it. Disrupt the flow. You know what I mean? You're just gonna make me do it, man. You're gonna make me do it. You're gonna make me do it. I'll do it. I'll do it, guys. This here is the soybean chart. If you're not familiar, it's a commodity, and you can eat them if you'd like. If you guys are enjoying the content, this is a threat now. I'm not asking nicely anymore. This is a threat. If you are enjoying the content, you will like the stream, or else something, or else something. We'll talk about that internally. But guys, for real, if you are enjoying the content, please do us a solid. We'll get back to the alpha in just a minute. But I need that like button to be obliterated. All right. Obliterate that like button, guys. Help us grow, help support the channel. And again, thank you guys for being here. That's right. Study appreciation. Dinesh, man. Dinesh. There is no second best to Dinesh. All right. We're good. We're good. That was pretty good. All right, Tommy, you said, and I quote, you don't think that Bitcoin dominance will go below 48. What did you say?
48 to 50%. I think that's like a post 2025, probably even 2026, 2027 thing.
Okay, so here's 48 to 50% right here. Exactly. So what you're telling me, more or less, is that you don't think that ETH BTC will go much above like 0.065, roughly here. Because I don't think you can say that otherwise.
You could.
Then walk me through what that would look like, because I have a tough time seeing it, but I'm not discounting its possibility.
I mean, I think ETH looks good against, it looks bottomed against Bitcoin. I'm not going to say it definitively because obviously many before me have tried. And obviously I'm not super bulled up on ETH USD. I think really what I'm kind of picturing in my head is that, and this kind of, I think, co-aligns with my view on Sol ETH as well, because I consider Sol and Bitcoin kind of in the same camp, right? They've run together, and they've run up from a major standpoint much harder from cyclical lows than ETH has, or from other large cap crypto assets. And so I think for that reason, there is a scenario where USD prices go down and ETH Bitcoin goes up, but Bitcoin dominance goes down because Bitcoin ran up so much harder than ETH and these other altcoins. So that's,
but then you're talking about Bitcoin. You mean you're literally talking about Bitcoin going like 300K with ETH still sub 10K or something like that?
I don't know about that. I just think what will probably happen is if they bottom, they probably bottomed together and then just bid together, because we're probably not far away from the sort of structured products that allow people the opportunity to bid Bitcoin and ETH together.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's coming, honestly. Like, people aren't going to want to pick between one or the other, so they just say, hey, just bid both. And okay, I'll bid a index, or like a measured weighted index of the two of them, and they'll probably go up together. Obviously, there will be fluctuations here and there, but I kind of think that's kind of how it's playing out in my head.
That would be a really interesting product. That sounds like a Cathie Wood Frankenstein. Like, she'll throw like some shit coins in there too, you know?
Sounds like something Maxie would put together.
So, yeah. So what he's saying though, like if you pull up Bitcoin over ETH, like Bitcoin chart on top, Ethereum on bottom, and you'll see where they do bid together at a certain point in the market. They absolutely do. And I think not enough people really look at that. but if you pull up a second chart at the bottom, you can kind of look at 2020 to 2021, and you'll see that Ethereum and Bitcoin actually follow each other at a certain point and literally bid to the high.
And Bitcoin dominance too can stay elevated simply because the market cap of it remains so massive. Like everything in theory can catch a bid, but Bitcoin, its market cap is probably going to remain much larger than all of, the entirety of crypto, I would have to imagine. That's not going to change. Like, again, literal countries are the next marginal bidder for Bitcoin. So I don't know if I think altcoins will have that same bid, but if Bitcoin's going higher, it goes without saying that every other coin in crypto is going to experience very positive tailwinds to the upside.
I mean, look at that chart, man. Look at that chart.
So they start bidding together, and ETH starts outperforming when Bitcoin is actually in price discovery, not like what we have right now. So like,
that's what we're saying.
Like, let's mark this out. Like Bitcoin all-time high right here. All-time high right here. Hopefully all-time high over here. I don't know though. At this point I'm exhausted. But this is when, in theory, this is when you should start to see ETH BTC outperform. Is like, and I did this in my stream yesterday. I know you guys probably didn't watch it, but like if you buy ETH BTC, where you set up an ETH BTC pair trade and you say, I'm going to hold this for 9 to 12 months, and you structure it and you start it in between the Bitcoin halving and the US presidential election, that has yielded some really nice results for you historically. And actually, I'll show you that right now. Here, let me just pop this up real quick. Okay. We don't need global liquidity anymore. So here's the US presidential elections and the Bitcoin halvings. And I'm going to put ETH BTC down below. So if you had just structured an ETH BTC pair trade in between the halving and the presidential election, we move it up so we have a little bit more room. I'll turn it off log. Like, this is the time to buy ETH BTC, or get bullish ETH over Bitcoin, is right here between the halving and the election.
Yeah, it looks like it already drew down too. Just like the drawdown it had over there in 2016.
Yeah. So like, Tommy, you're probably right. This is the bottom, right? The question is like, is ETH BTC an oscillator that is losing momentum and it's just going to do like this, or is it in some kind of like giant compression like this, and you're about to see it make a new all-time high? I don't know. We'll see what the market demand for Russian Ponzi is. I don't know.
I'm always.
Go on, Will.
No, I was just gonna say I'm always in the camp that diminishing returns is a factor, and that these things will always be lower highs, right? Like, it's always going to lose against Bitcoin, in my opinion, but it wins on the upside potential, right? The X's to the upside. It's just, it never came down enough this cycle to really have the big upswing to make it significantly outpace Bitcoin. If they would have had a significant amount of drawdown, then this scenario would be different. Like Solana, right? Solana had a significant amount of drawdown, and Solana will now outpace all the L1s, in my opinion. But when you look at Ethereum, I don't
know if I agree with that, bro. I'm kind of in like the Sol ETH, like at least 3 month to 4 month.
I'm saying from bottom to top.
Okay, yeah, that's
from
fine.
Bottom to top.
Okay,
Solana will outpace all the L1s because of that, right? And so with Ethereum, it never had a significant amount of drawdown. So a lot of people are like, well, that means it's going to have a big explosion up. No, it could mean that it has the same amount of explosion up and literally only 4 X's, right? Maybe 3 X's. And for me, that's just not enough. If I want a 3 or 4 X, I'll go to the stock market. I come to crypto for 10 plus. And so when I'm looking at this, am I saying it's not a safe play? I'd say, sure, it's a safe play. And I think it will significantly outpace Bitcoin at a certain point. And that's why I think BTCD is going to get absolutely shreked, because Ethereum is going to outpace Bitcoin by a shit ton on the way up on this next leg. But ultimately, I think that, there are probably better places to put your money, but Ethereum is going to outpace Bitcoin. I guess that's really the only thing I could say.
It'll probably outpace it at like the very end of the cycle. I mean, if there's fluctuations, I have to imagine that by the end of the cycle, like from here, you're probably Bitcoin and ETH, you're going to make the same gains if I had to guess.
No.
I think the inefficiencies are more than likely going to be in like Solana and like Will said, like some other L1, some other altcoins will outperform, but ETH is probably slowly but surely graduating into that Bitcoin camp. As much as I love to FUD it, I just think the marginal downside for ETH against Bitcoin is a lot lower, given that Bitcoin has already run up so much higher on a relative basis from cyclical low, right? Like, look at where Bitcoin's residing at in its market structure versus where ETH is at. How much lower do you really think that like if Bitcoin drops, ETH is probably not going to underperform to the down. Like it's probably not going to perform, or it's probably not going to go down more than Bitcoin because Bitcoin is just up that much higher from cyclical lows. Like how much more is the marginal downside on ETH BTC, unless you're just talking about like total doomsday?
Bro, ETH bear market though, like ETH, I'm just gonna say it did better in Bitcoin. It did better in Bitcoin on the downside potential.
Did it?
The
though?
drawdown,
it went
bro.
To,
the
went
drawdown,
to like $800.
No, it didn't, Will. It definitely did not, Will. It
Like,
didn't go on to make a new low during FTX, but
that's what I'm saying.
It had a more
That's
aggressive bear market. That's
Yes.
not a better bear market, though.
No. What I'm saying is it was less volatile. It was more stable. Bitcoin, Bitcoin created a lower low.
ETH went down,
did not.
Sub $900, bro, and that giant Aave whale almost got liquidated, which would have sent it down to like $320. They were like 10% less. They were like I don't know, a couple hundred points away at most from like destroying ETH. Like that would have. People don't realize how bad that could have been if that Aave whale got liquidated. It was so close. I was at a wedding, and I opened my phone, and ETH is at $900. And people were tracking that Aave whale, and he needed like 60 million in collateral to keep his loan alive. And somehow, some way, people were like, "Contact this guy. We got to figure out who this is." And at the very last second, he made the deposit. People don't realize how low ETH would have gone.
Ooh, I know who it might have been.
You think it was son?
I have no idea. I'm just guessing.
Okay.
Well, maybe.
ETH drawdown was 82%, Bitcoin 72. That is not bad at all. That is not bad. And then it didn't even form a lower low. It formed a higher low when Bitcoin formed a lower low structure.
But I wouldn't look at market structure in a bear market accumulation and say ETH didn't have as bad of a bear market as Bitcoin, because that's not true.
I mean, look. Let me get the chart, and I'm gonna show you why.
You gotta put it up at the bottom. I can't even select it. You don't have.
All right, there you go. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so let me show you something. You have this, right? Infinite up forever only. Right here, but you had this first, right? You had this first. On Ethereum, you only had this. Higher low structures. So you had higher low structures all the way up, and on Bitcoin you dropped to a lower low before you actually took off to a up only market. Structurally, Ethereum looks immensely better than Bitcoin
right now.
In general, since the bear market began, like you can't tell me that's not a beautiful structure. That is an amazing. I mean, we were talking Cheeto in the door right here, Max.
I'd say it's a clean uptrend, but I wouldn't say it's like overwhelmingly obvious that it's better than Bitcoin's. The only thing that disrupts the flow of the Bitcoin chart was just the FTX drop that ETH didn't have. In my opinion, that's the only difference.
Which is odd. It's really odd.
No, it's not, because you recognize like there was mechanics that can justify as to why that was.
Leverage got flushed out on ETH in 2022. Well, in May of 2022, June. That 3AC capitulation was effectively the ETH leverage flush, and the FTX capitulation was effectively the Bitcoin, like the final Bitcoin leverage flush.
Yeah, but one formed a lower low and one formed a higher low. That's the perspective I keep coming back to. I get for me,
ETH
I
has
guess
been lagging, and ETH has been lagging Bitcoin percentage wise ever since, right?
I mean, we can do a percentage gain.
No, it has been. I can tell you. Look at the ETH BTC chart.
374, and then we can go here and we can go here to here, 338.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is behind Ethereum from low to high.
No, I'm talking like look at the ETH BTC chart. Like you don't even need to take a measurement. Like it's been down only that whole time.
Will Tucker is saying something to you in the comments.
You're
Will,
talking about this?
Yeah. You can't tell me that ETH has been outperforming Bitcoin and is somehow better. Like I think BTC is going to pump. I'm just saying, like ETH has been literally in a downtrend for 3 years. Like
we're simply discussing structure, right?
No, that's not what you said. That's not what you said.
I think
performance is structure.
ETH Bitcoin
no, it's not. Performance is not structure. Performance is percentage gains or percentage drawdown.
Ethereum has higher percentage gains.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's literally an ETH BTC chart that will show you exactly that is false.
Max,
that is not true.
Dollar percentage, Ethereum has had more upside than Bitcoin.
Will, that is objectively false. Look at the ETH BTC chart.
It's right here. It's right here.
Will,
the ETH BTC doesn't mean
ETH
anything.
BTC chart, bro. 2 + 2 is 4. Okay, look at the ETH BTC chart. I'm not even trying to be a dick, Will. Like literally, I'm just telling you the data is right there in front of you.
I mean, do I need to put these over top of each other?
Well, do you want me to chart? I will chart it for you right now. If you can't figure out how to chart it, I will do it for you right now.
You can keep going back and forth between these charts if you want.
Okay, we're gonna go back to Max's screen. Okay, we're gonna go back to Max's chart, and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about here. Okay,
ETH BTC is an oscillator.
Dude, it is Ethereum divided by Bitcoin.
Oh man,
it's not MACD or RSI or something like that. Okay,
I'm saying low to high. I'm not talking about the chop in between.
Okay, so let's look at it then. Okay, so here is ETH BTC.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, here's ETH BTC, and I'm gonna put ETH down below, and then I'm gonna put Bitcoin down below as well. Okay, all of them stacked right here.
Now do a ruler percentage from low to high on all of them. From bear market low to bull market high.
Like, okay, so bear market low was right here.
They have different bear market lows, Will.
I know.
So there's your bear market low, 15.7 or whatever, okay? Right?
No, I'm talking about where each one bottomed.
Okay.
They bottomed at different
we'll mark
times.
out both. We'll mark out both. Okay. So here is Bitcoin's bear market bottom in red.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And here is ETH's bear market bottom, and I will mark this in blue. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So now I'm gonna draw out right now.
I need the percentage
right here.
The ruler.
This is ETH's bear market bottom right here. I drew a horizontal line right at the bottom. It's a magnet to the wick of the ETH bear market bottom right there. Okay. ETH BTC is below that point. Bitcoin, since the true like crypto bear market bottom after FTX, even though ETH didn't make a new low, here's the percentage drawdown. So ETH is still down over 10%. Okay, during that time. ETH is down, lagging from its bear. If we cherry pick ETH's bear market bottom, not the global crypto bear market bottom, ETH is still down 10% against Bitcoin. If we look at the actual bear market bottom, when Bitcoin made a new low and all your shit coins made new lows, ETH is down 35% against Bitcoin.
You talking about price right now? Or are we talking from low to high?
I'm talking from ETH's bear market bottom and Bitcoin's bear market bottom, measured to the penny. Cherry picking your data.
To the bull market top?
Cherry picking your data, ETH is still down 10% against Bitcoin since its bear market bottom. From Bitcoin's bear market bottom, which was the global crypto bottom for all crypto, not just ETH.
To the bull market
It's
top?
down 35% against Bitcoin.
All right, I'll present this. I'll present this.
This is not even subjective. This is
Max.
It's not even up for debate. It's just number.
We can discuss this in a different way. So I'll make it easier. Okay. If you were to put 10,000 in Bitcoin, right, and you were to sell it at 72, and you were to put 10,000 in Ethereum, and you were to sell it at the high here at 4,056, would you have the same amount of money, or a different amount of money?
You can't cherry pick a low to a high there, Will, because it's that's so not fair to do that, Will.
That's what I'm saying, though.
No,
the percentage is the same.
You buy the Pico bottom and then sell the Pico top.
I'm not saying.
Unfortunately,
I'm not saying you sell you buy the bottom, sell the top. What I'm
That's
stating
what
is
you just said.
No. What I'm saying is their gains are the same. They're literally the same. They're the same gains. Like you could have bought Bitcoin or you could have bought Ethereum, and you would have got the same amount of money. That's what I'm saying.
You would have had to work a lot harder to have the same amount of money by timing the ETH move than the Bitcoin move.
Not trading it. I'm saying simply spot buy to spot, and then where we are now. So right now we're 35% down on Ethereum, and look here on Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin.
You've also been diluted on ETH a little bit as well because supply has been a bit inflationary since then.
A bit inflationary. It's been straight up in a straight line.
This part you're right. Look. We're 19% down on Bitcoin. We're 35% down on Ethereum. That is why Ethereum is down on Bitcoin right now. That's the ETH BTC right now.
No,
low to high, it's the same.
3 years, not right now. 3 years, it's been down. Well, and I'm super heavy in ETH. Like, I don't love admitting this, but it's the truth. Look at the ETH BTC chart.
So look. Let me mark this out for you, real quick. Here, we'll do an arrow. March.
Will, you're trying to avoid the ETH BTC chart. Just put the ETH BTC chart up.
March. They were both the same percentage at that same peak.
All right, Will, you're right. Let's move on. You're right. You're right, Will.
I'm just saying, bro.
No, you've exhausted me. You win. You've beaten me down. 2 + 2 is 5. You win. I quit.
God.
Will, you're right.
2 + 2 is 5, bro.
No, you've exhausted me. I can't do it. You have outlasted me, Will. Therefore, you win. I concede. ETH has been clearly a better hold than Bitcoin over the past 3 years.
No, I didn't say
that. That's what you said, and you are right, Will. You've broken me down. You have beaten me down, and you win.
There's no difference. That's all I was saying.
You're right. You're 100% right. There's no difference. In the ETH BTC chart, the ETH BTC chart doesn't matter. There's no difference. It's been an oscillator. You're right, Will. You're 100% right. You're 100%
what
right.
Fair value for ETH Bitcoin is just 0.05. There will be fluctuations around that level, but what if that's just fair value?
Yeah, it's fair value, man.
No, you win. You're 100% right. Okay,
you win too, Tommy.
What?
You win too. We all win.
We're all gonna make it, boys. Oh man. All right. Well, we've been going for a while, about an hour 20. I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
Man, exhausted, Max.
Yeah, Tommy, do us the honor, brother.
All right, guys, I will take us out, take us home into Friday. Hope you all have had a great Thursday. It was a good show. I enjoyed this one. No, there was a lot to discuss on today's show. Obviously, even though crypto is kind of just sitting at this inflection point, right? To go higher or to go lower, and what does that mean for both directions? I'm sure we'll continue to discuss though into the end of the week, and of course next week as well though. But before we can officially wrap up, guys, we do have a few things that we have to run through, right? Like BB Wealth Management, our new hedge fund, has officially launched, and that is for those who are unfamiliar, a digital asset focused fund that looks to capture the asymmetric history of upside returns, as well as managing the downside risks posed in any financial market, as we saw very notably last week, right, with the Japanese flash crash. But no shortage of volatility within crypto, which is ultimately what we are looking to capture at BB Wealth Management. So if you are interested in becoming an accredited investor or an LP, we do have more information linked in the description below. Make sure to check that out. If that is something that interests you, email us. We will get back to you as quickly as we can, hopefully answer any and all of your questions. Of course, we also have the BB Academy, which has been around for about 3 or 4 months now, but we've gotten some pretty great reviews from you guys already, which I love to hear, of course. As I've been saying, I mean, I think it's the best course that you will be able to find in crypto, especially at that value. I mean, it's not very often that you get to learn from so many different traders, how they approach the market, how they analyze the market, and ultimately how they trade. So whether or not you are looking to kind of hone that educational base, or whether or not you are looking to take your trading to mastery level, there is a place for you in the BB Academy. So make sure to check that out as well. We also have that link in the description below.
I also have a free course that I just made, by the way, if you guys haven't seen that yet. So if you don't want to do the paid one on BB Academy, I did a free one on how to make your trading view charts look really good. All right. So you can check that out. All right. It's totally free. But back to you. I just wanted to mention that because it's free now. That one's free.
And we're going to continue to be adding courses on top of the BB Academy, guys. So there is more educational content from the team coming. Be aware of that. But we also have the BB Terminal coming very, very shortly. This is a product that we've spent a lot of time, work, and money on ultimately, so that we can deliver you guys the best in class, the best possible product that we can possibly give you. It will be an all-encompassing trading terminal for you guys, and I promise, like it's awesome. You guys are going to love it. I'm really excited to begin using it myself. I'm already kind of finding some of the tools that I've been using. Like I've been seeking an upgrade on them for sure. So I'm very much looking forward to the BB Terminal, which should be coming out very, very soon. So keep an eye on that, guys. We are very, very excited about that as a team. We hope that you as a community are as well. But if you enjoyed Market Check, we'll be back for another episode tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A reminder that we are live Monday through Friday at that same time, whenever the New York Stock Exchange is open. You can get more of discussion like what we kind of closed the show out with Max and Will. Of course, we also have Jackus and Tucker and Louis on as well sometimes. Well, pretty much all the time. So you guys can hear from our panel of traders and team members pretty much every day. So thank you guys again for tuning in for Market Check. Don't forget about Market Talk, hosted by King Wabi. That is a Twitter space run through our Because Bitcoin Twitter account. So make sure to follow and stay subscribed so you can be notified, not just when we go live, but also when we schedule those spaces in advance. But that is it from us, guys. We hope that you all have a great rest of your Thursday, a fantastic rest of your week if we don't see you again tomorrow. But thanks again, as always. And of course, in these market conditions, stay safe.